Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Freedom Network. I'm Gary Rosenberg. We're live tonight. Yes, we are. I know we weren't here last week, and I got to make an announcement. I won't be here next week, and I'll be in the Caribbean the week after. So it's going to be the third week that we get back to the Freedom Network right here, NCTV 11, and anywhere right on their website. You can see us from anywhere, and I know a lot of you do from out of town and even out of state. And we appreciate that very, very much. Welcome to the Freedom Network. Like I said, my name's Gary. I am here to talk politics and issues for the next hour. We cover a lot of ground. We don't pull a lot of punches. Yeah, we make people upset, but we welcome all views. All views, always welcome. Right here on the Freedom Network. You can get to us very easy. All you got to do is call in if you want to take that leap, or if you don't want to quite take that leap, you can email us, and you can email us at timandgary@gmail.com, and you'll come right up here, right in front of me, and bam, I can get your thoughts on the air. If you don't want your name used, just say, I don't want my name used, and I certainly won't do it. Interestingly enough, we get a lot of emails, a lot of stuff that's come in, because when we're not on the air, I will tell you, I answer them all. Everybody that emails me, you all know that you get responses. Sometimes we get into some nice debates about politics just via email. And, of course, we do that online, too. You can find the group, the Freedom Network, right on Facebook. And you can email me. If you'd like a link, I'll email you a link back so that you can find it. Because it can be kind of tough to navigate Facebook. There's a lot of groups out there, and there's a lot of freedom networks. America's Freedom Network, which is a website that we started, americasfreedomnetwork.com, is in upgrade status. Yes, it is. It's back online. There's some exciting news that's going to come to you toward the end of the summer. Some website changes, and different things that we've been working on. I will let you know that just some brief history on americasfreedomnetwork.com, which is going to morph, but it's going to be the parent to this entire movement. It was very nice to see over 100,000 people join from all across the country. Our initial movement, our initial test, and it was quite a test. I think it topped out, and Donnie, you're out there, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the last number we had was about 125,000 people that had signed up all the way across the country. And man, that's just awesome. So all of those people will certainly contact via email if you've signed up with email. And for all the new people, I think you can probably sign up now. If not, just keep checking. I'll keep giving you updates and let you know when you can get in there. Some real innovative stuff. And when I mean innovative stuff, I mean stuff you have not seen. We're going to change political social media. We've got a lot of exciting things happening at the Freedom Network. We are here broadcasting today and have been for I don't even know how many shows now. Maybe you can tell me over there, but we've been broadcasting right out of Northbridge, Massachusetts. We were in Stoughton. We've been on the radio. We've been all over the place. Now with the web, the limits are there are no limits. There are no limits on the web. You can go wherever you want. So yeah, about 12 weeks, a good blitz campaign of information, and 120,000 odd people joined up. We expect it to be wild. Come the end of summer and fall. More news to follow. I wanted to throw a plug out there for the local food pantries. I've gotten a few emails from a couple. I'm involved with several of them in Milford, especially through work and things like that. We do a lot with the local food pantries, and I would say that everybody should take a second look at food pantries. This time of year, with the kids out of school, the pantries are usually running low. Now, we don't think a lot about food pantries in the summer. We think about them at the holidays, but we should think about them through the entire year as well. Just a little plug I'd like to give to those, and the people that work at them obviously don't get paid to do so, and just do a wonderful job. Just a wonderful job, the people that I know that are involved with them. So think about your local pantry. I'm sure if you called it, they could probably use some food. And it's amazing how $10 worth of food can go so far when you really try to, stretch that out and, shop around, get some deals, get some dented cans, any of that kind of stuff that you can put your hands on. Sometimes even the local supermarkets and things like that, if you tell them what you're doing, will get on board with you and help you out. So I just want to throw that out there. Just wanted to toss it out there to you. All right, we got a ton of emails. We obviously can't go through all of the emails that we've got over the past few, and every week we try to highlight a few of them and have a little discussion on them. I do want to let everybody know that's local from Northbridge, Mass, where we're broadcasting out of. We are going to talk about sex offenders tonight. We will get to it, I promise you. We have a vast audience, lots of people, but the reason I want to really dedicate a fair portion of the show to it after we get through some emails and stuff is because it's a real issue. And there's people on all sides of this issue, and I understand that. I've been talking to people on Facebook on both sides of this issue, messaging back and forth, and also doing the same with emails and even a few phone conversations. And it's not as cut and dry as you'd think it is. And I'll get into what we're looking to do, and you can make your own decision if you think it's something that's worthwhile. And then we're going to ask you to actually get in your car and take a ride. Well, I don't need everybody to do so, but I need you to feel that no one else is going to do so, because if everybody thinks someone else will do it, then nobody shows up. But I need some signatures to get something, what they call a warrant, and to add a warrant, to add it on to our fall town meeting so that the citizens can vote on it. And then the citizens can decide if it's something that they would like to adopt or if they wouldn't like to adopt. And those would be bylaws that deal with sex offenders. I'm going to get into all that and why I feel we should do it, and some opposing views. And if you have opposing views, they're welcome. All opinions are welcome here on the Freedom Network. And never forget that. Whether it's politics or anything, you don't have to agree. And a lot of people don't. We get plenty of emails from people that don't. 90% of them probably are people that do agree, but don't shy away if you don't agree. Debate is good. It's what makes America great. Anyway, Teddy. Teddy says, Gary, love the show. I've been seeing a lot about sexual offenders and saw that the group you started seems to be doing okay. Will you talk about that on your next show? Sorry to take the wind out of your sails, Teddy. I didn't realize that was the first one I had copied down there. Yeah, we'll talk about this, Teddy. Definitely, for sure, I will talk about it. John says, Gary, what do you think about Donald Trump? I sent an email before, but you're not on the air every single week during the summer, so I figured I'd send another. He has jumped off the deep end, I think, and this time with his comments about McCain, he seems to be sunk. Well, look, I mean, he has jumped off the deep end with his comments about John McCain. I think he has some great messages, and I love that he calls out all of elected government as a group, not on party lines. Doesn't care what the party lines are. He just calls everybody out, and he says, you're failing. And you know what? They are failing. Look at America. Look at where we are today. We're certainly failing. But to dismiss someone like he did to McCain, I think was foolish. Politically, it was just stupid. So it shows that the savvy that he says that he has may not be there. And that is a problem for me, because I had liked the savvy, to be honest with you, the business savvy, the knowing what to do, when to do it, when to push, when to back off. But that didn't seem to come through. But anyone that fights for America, that goes to war for America, I mean, in my book, I'm going to tell you something, you're a hero. Now, you can argue from the alternate theories that are out there and from all sides of the issue about soldiers, but the fact of the matter is that they're doing what they feel and what probably is right, and they're defending freedom, and in their minds that's what they're doing, and when they're over there, that's what they're doing. They don't get caught up in the politics of it. Trust me. They don't choose what to do, they don't choose where to go, but the American fighters deserve respect, in my opinion, 100%. Whether you agree or disagree with what they're doing, you've got to have some respect for somebody that's willing to do that, because that's the same person that's going to go and fight for you and your freedom should these shores be attacked. And I don't think that Trump gave any respect in what he said. Now, the media did cover this rather slantedly, as usual, and we know, and of course they would, but I think in this case he does deserve to be called to task. I really do think that he does. I'm really looking for someone that was able to tell them that they're all doing a bad job like he did. I wanted someone that was not on the inside of the political game, that was not afraid to speak their mind about what's going on in America. They weren't afraid that I'll offend my party, so I won't say this or call this person out or do that. You know what? It doesn't matter. Both parties are failing miserably, and that's just a fact. For a while, I thought it may have been him, but I don't know. It's of course it's still early, but I'm not sure that Trump can handle being civil to the world if he can't be civil to those that defend America. At first, I thought he was a joke. Then I started to listen. Then I started to buy into some of what he was saying, and now I'm waving back the other way, John. But yeah, John, I don't know. I'm now in what I would call complete flux on this entire situation because what he did just there's a line. There is a line. And it's okay to disagree with what politicians are doing and stuff, but to sit there and there's only so much out of context. I call this out on the left all the time. Everything can't be out of context. I mean, you can see him standing or sitting there and saying that he doesn't consider him a hero, that heroes don't get caught, or I like people that don't get caught and that kind of stuff. You know what? That's baloney. And one of my favorite words, I'm taming down my language. That's baloney. That's what that is. John McCain, I really, to be quite honest with you, don't like a lot of his politics. As a matter of fact, it could be said that he could have done a whole lot more so far in his tenure in the government for veterans. To be quite honest with you, a lot of veterans groups that I've been reading about are not so happy with him and what he's done for them. But it doesn't negate the fact that this guy was who he was, went through what he went through. And I think that some respect should be given to that. I just do. So I'm a little mad at you, Donald. You had me so close. I mean, the bait was floating. I was about to take a bite, and you were going to hook me. You were. But I don't know now. Now I got to go back. I mean, and I look at other people. I look at Perry. I look at Rand. I look at, all these guys, and to be honest with you, I'm seeing a lot of the same. This somehow this feeling of camaraderie that you don't go against the grain, and then you get too far over there, and some of these folks are so into the religion aspect of it. You know how I feel about that. It gets me nervous. Our founders were pretty clear about religion and politics and where they should and where they shouldn't mix. So I'm back in quandary. I don't know what I'm going to do. All I know is I don't want Hillary. I'm not voting for Hillary, and I'm going to vote. I think the second we stop voting, whether you think that the elections are real or that they're not real, the only way you're ever going to prove that out is to vote. Because if you've only got a small percentage voting, then the majority will never get aggravated and say, wait a minute, what are you talking about? Because I didn't vote for that person. You'll never expose the fraud in voting if you think there's fraud at the government level in voting unless you vote, so that a majority of people can come forward and say, wait a minute, what happened here? So to those people that say, well, I just don't vote because none of these people represent me and on and all this stuff, it's not valid. It's not valid, because what you're doing is you're perpetuating what's happening. So you're upset about the government, but you're not going to put your name out there. Get your name on record. Go and vote for Mickey Mouse. Go do whatever you want to do, but you got to show up at the polls and you've got to vote. And if you vote and consolidate, if you could get 80% of the people to vote for one guy or one girl, hopefully the girl isn't Hillary, then you're going to have a leg to stand on as a populace. But if 48% of the people go out and vote, doesn't matter. And that's why they can play the games that you may think that they play. So vote every single time you get the chance. Never don't vote. Never use not voting as a protest, because that means that there is no protest. Just my opinion. Just my opinion. Jennifer, Gary, you tell it like it is, and that's awesome. Keep doing that, please. Love the show. Thank you, Jennifer. Let's see here. Excuse me. Jack. Jack says, Gary, I like what you said about the flag and about gay marriage. You know what? You're right. The government shouldn't have or shouldn't fly a defeated battle flag, and gay people should have the same rights and the same view in the government's eyes as everybody else. I wrestled with these issues and you had a great impact on my opinion on them. I wanted to thank you. Well, I mean, my feeling is pretty simple. It really is pretty simple on both of these issues. First of all, the government says if you perform or take part in a certain religious, now, and this is where, marriage is a religious thing. That's what it is. It comes from religion. It does. You can't get around that. Now, I don't support that religious institutions should be forced to have same-sex couples marrying in their institution or even by them. I don't buy that at all. Religions need to be autonomous. They shouldn't be told what to do by the government. At the same time, the government should not be saying that if you partake in this particular religious ceremony, we're going to make it so you can file a joint tax return. We're going to make it so that this person can be next of kin. We're going to make it so that insurance can be now a group. We're going to make it so that when you pass away, your estate will automatically go to this person. We're going to make it so that absent of a will, X, Y, and Z will happen. Estates, 401ks, all that kind of stuff. Even if you don't pick a beneficiary, you know where it goes. Well, you know where it goes. But if you're gay, it doesn't go the same way. And that's not cool. The government's not supposed to assign special privileges based on religion. It's a very, very, very bad habit, I think, to get into. And that's why I absolutely could not condemn the Supreme Court on what they said. Now, if they said that every priest, rabbi, imam, and everybody else had to perform gay marriages, well, that I think I would have a little bit of a problem with on the same grounds. The government should not be in the business of religion. People should be in the business of religion. You should hold your own religious beliefs or whatever you want them to be, and as long as you're not hurting anybody else, you should practice them and be free to do so the way that you want to. You shouldn't be forced to do them. But that knife has to cut both ways. On the flag thing, I don't understand, first of all, why we want to fly a defeated battle flag. That I don't get. Secondly, there's been a lot of debate about whether a state can secede from the Union. There's a lot of debate now about what the Civil War was all about. Here's my issue with the whole thing. Let me just put this real simple, and then we'll get on to Peter's email. As a state, you enter a contract, basically. Now, if you read Madison, you can find where they say that you should fight the government, but you should fight the government. You should fight it as Americans, not as Confederates. This is what I've read. All right, I've read the Federalist Papers, all of them. I've read the Constitution probably 300 times. I have a copy of it. I read it often. I do. What do you want from me? But the fact of the matter is that while there is an ability to change things, you're supposed to do it, and the founders really did want you to do it as Americans. Now, if they had crossed the river after that battle, that they could have crossed the river, continued on to the capital, and demanded the government back in the name of states' rights, that would be states' rights. That's what Madison said you're supposed to do. That's why the Second Amendment happens to be in the Constitution. It's there for many reasons, but that is a listed reason, and it's a factual point as to what they were talking about. Read the Federalist Papers because it's in there. Now, there's also things in there that will tell you that, hey, if things aren't the right way and you can't win, then you must preserve and remake this union and take this over. No tyranny should be here. I get it. I've read it. But they didn't cross the river. The desire wasn't to fix America as all states. The desire was to cut, to run, form a new government, which they did. Immediately after forming that government, one of the first laws they passed was an anti-Second Amendment law banning black people from owning guns. Now, if you want to fly this flag, go ahead. My issue with the flag, and I think this is what the emailer is talking about, was I don't want to see it on government property. You could tattoo it on your forehead for all I care. This is America. Do what you want. But the government, why are we going to fly that flag? Why? To me, it's just not that big of a states' rights issue. The states have rights, but they don't have the right to form a new country. They don't. So email me, yell at me, I don't care, but there's 2 issues for you that I may not be on the side you thought I'd be on. And I'm okay with it if you're upset about it, because like I always say, the Freedom Network's about opinions. It's about America, and it's about you, and it's about me, and it's about every single person. And if you have a inkling to disagree, that's okay. That's what America's all about. We should debate these things out. We shouldn't fight about them. We should debate these things out. And sometimes you're going to have to agree to disagree. And that's okay too. But I'll tell you, on my front lawn, you're not going to see the Confederate flag. You're much more apt to see the American flag. It just, to me, seems to make sense. That's all. Peter says, Gary, what do you think is the biggest threat to America today? All right, Peter, the biggest threat to America today, I would have to say, is our government. Case closed. All right, thanks for all the emails. Too many to put all on air, but I like to respond to all of them, so keep them coming. Wait a minute, there was one more. Hang on a second, there was one more. Did I not write it down here? Oh, yes, I did. It's Paul. Paul. I'm sorry, I almost missed you, Paul. I like to get emails from all sides and at least pick one, excuse me, each week. Paul, Gary, you feeling okay? You have not been doing much Obama bashing lately, buddy. Are you okay? Paul, I'm fine. I'm okay, but I do thank you for asking. We will kick his butt again soon, so don't you worry. Maybe towards the end of the show we'll have time. Keep in touch. I like our email debates. Paul, you're a very well-educated and thoughtful liberal. You're not a typical liberal. You speak your mind. You never give me party line, and I love that. You always have your own take on everything, and I think that's fantastic. We're from 2 separate sides of the political spectrum, but I respect your opinions, and I like that you email, and I like that you tune in. So, Paul, thank you. Special thank you to you. Email coming in. Let's see what this is. This comes from Jim. I'm not a Trump fan, at least not the fan you were. I was, Jim. I was getting in it. I'm not going to lie to you. I like the message of screw the government. You're all doing a horrible job. I don't mind that message. That said, it was a misstep. They all have them. Of course, Trump respects vets, and he does. He paid for a parade for them, or helped pay for a parade for them. So that's where I said, Jim, the media does take this a little bit to the one way of reporting. He respects him, captured or not. McCain aggravated him, not his words, I'm paraphrasing, calling out his followers as crazies. And you're right about that, Jim. He did call out his followers as crazy because McCain is part of the establishment. McCain will toe the party line. I don't like his politics at all, to be quite honest with you. Let's see. Trump will sink himself, but that statement about McCain, and it was directed at McCain, not all captured vets, fair enough, is not what will do it. Side note, I'm sure McCain was baiting him and it worked. Yeah, very true, Jim. That was a calculated, absolute, and I wouldn't put it past McCain dealing with the other side to make sure that happened. I'm just not a fan of his politically at all. It was tough for me to see him as the man when he was running. But you're right, Jim. People don't always make good decisions. Look, he picked Sarah Palin to run with, right? That wasn't a good decision. All right, but thanks for all the emails. I love them. Keep them coming on any topic and on every topic. Not a problem. All right, lines are open. Whatever you want to talk about, email it in, call it in. Let's talk about sex offenders for a moment. Let me touch on that. I know there's a lot of local people that want to talk about it, or at least listen about it, possibly email about it, and hopefully get involved with it. All right, I'm looking to get a bylaw passed in the town that we broadcast out of Northbridge, Massachusetts. Now, I have a petition. I'm wading through this the first time like anybody else. I am no professional government maneuvering guy. I'm not. I am a column like I see him, and I'm not afraid to put my face behind my words and my name behind my words. My opinions are sometimes challenged, and that's okay, but they're my opinions, and I'll always speak them. And I will not back down from my opinions. That's just the way I guess I was raised. But if I feel strongly about something, I'm gonna push for it. And I would like to get a bylaw passed in this town. I have a petition to add a warrant to the town meeting for the fall. I have it here with me tonight. I'm asking to get about 30 people down to the station. And I understand, like I said in the beginning, everybody thinks somebody else will come, and then nobody comes. So if you can, show up. And if we can even get, 5 or 10 people down to the station, I think that would be fantastic. I'll take an email that's coming in. There's no name on this one. Whatever Trump says, it's clear that freedom of speech and thought only applies to the politically correct crowd. Well, to a degree, you're absolutely right about that. He has the freedom. I'm not challenging that he should, or that he can't say that, but I'm challenging should he have said that. Just because you can say something doesn't mean you should say it. But emailer, I do agree with you. Trump has the freedom of speech to say anything he wants, and to be quite honest with you, I support that freedom of speech. I just think he's off in his comments, but I'm not away from him completely, but I'm back over on the that I don't know side. I don't like what he said, but I agree with you. He's got the right to say it, and if he wants to say it, he should say it, plain and simple. Shouldn't worry about political correctness. It's killing this country anyway. So anyway, I'm looking to get a few people down, see what happens. If we can, I'll meet you out in the parking lot. I just need some signatures. As a matter of fact, we only need about 10 that we can verify, so I'd like to get more than 10 because if they can't verify your signature, it doesn't count. But I want to fill the sheet if I can. It's got about 32 lines on it. If you're a registered voter, you got to be a registered voter, folks, and you want to help this cause, show up at the station just after 8, right after the show airs. And we can get you on there. I'll be in the parking lot. I'll meet you outside. What we're trying to do is prevent sex offenders from being able to frequent areas where children and the elderly congregate. That's what we're trying to do. We don't have any laws on the books. Many other towns do. The state leaves these specific laws up to the citizens and the towns that are within the state. So in the end, each town has to have their own. Now, we had a level 3 sex offender here in town at a bus stop. We have a level 3 sex offender, I have been told. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Let me grab a drink here. It's got a Facebook page. Now, Facebook, a good friend of mine, Chico's Tattoos, his page is pulled down because they couldn't verify that was his name. Chico, if you're watching, it's awful. But they don't seem to mind that their own policy. You can't be a registered sex offender and have an account. The way I read their rules and regulations. I know everybody just clicks agree, but if you read them, I'm one of those guys. Not supposed to be there. We have them in town. They are active. There are a few that are active. Not all, but there are a few. So anyway, there was one at a bus stop. The police were called, and there was nothing they could do about it. Or maybe there was at the school. The police were called. Nothing that they could do about it because there's no law. Why would they be out there? Why would a registered sex offender at a level 3 be looking and hanging out at a bus stop? Why? Now, I understand and have had some debate that we shouldn't, you pay your debt to society, and you should be able to move on. But the rate at which they reoffend is large, and debatably large. But, let's face it, folks. I'm a huge supporter of people's rights. You all know that. Anyone that knows me knows this. Anyone that knows me knows this. I'm plain and simple. But at the same time, and at some point, you have to understand that one person's rights cannot infringe on another person's rights. They can't. You can't say, you can't yell fire, but you have freedom of speech. Well, maybe you can't go and hang out at the bus stop if you're a level 3 sex offender. Is that such a difficult thing to grasp? I don't want you there. I'm sorry. Yeah, I will get into what the bylaw states. I'm going to get into that. I certainly will. Sex offenders at level 2 or above are dangerous in most cases. Maybe not in all cases, but in most cases. And when you're talking about somebody sexually offending, a criminal offense against another person, this is no good. I mean, how many do you have in your town? Does your town have a bylaw? Already over the past few years, about 30 towns, I believe, have passed such bylaws. As more and more do this, and they are doing it, folks. I've talked to other towns. several that are in the process of doing it now that are very close to us. The towns without these laws are going to become more attractive to sexual offenders. If we don't put something on the books, then we're the place that they can go and they don't have any restrictions. Now, they may not even be looking or hunting or thising or thating. But do you want to take that chance knowing the scientific facts behind people that abuse others sexually? We're talking about level 2 and level 3. I understand you can get on a sex offender registry for level 1. Level 1 could be using the bathroom outside, exposing yourself. This law has nothing to do with those people. That's not what I'm looking for. At all. Let's look at some numbers. And remember that these crimes are not like stealing. These are not like damaging property or vandalism. These are sexual crimes against others, especially at level 3 and also at level 2. Let's see what the public has to say. Hit a button if I hit the right one. Good evening. You're on the Freedom Network. How are you this evening?
How are you, Gary? How you doing tonight? It's Christopher Mader from the MNC Conservative Media Network. How you doing tonight?
Hey, it's my friend Christopher Mader. How are you, sir?
Great. What a great show you're doing tonight.
Oh, thanks, man. It's good to have you on. You know, give yourself a quick plug, man. Where do people find you?
They can find me on Facebook at the MNC Conservative Media Network on Facebook, and they can find me at Meat and Potatoes 2012 on YouTube channel. And they can find me at the LexingtonGreen.blogspot.com, the LexingtonGreen.blogspot.com.
Fantastic.
Watching your show here that you're doing tonight here. I'm sure I'm on, a delay here, but
that's all right. Just we're not midnight like you are, and we do watch our language here. But otherwise, go ahead. Whatever you want to talk about, it's good.
No, it's good. I'm watching your show tonight about freedom of speech and some of the things that are going on here, and I think it's an absolute travesty that we're adopting this paradigm that to pull down the Confederate flag and denigrate everything that has once been in our past, good, bad, or indifferent, that we're pulling that down to somehow rewrite our history, to somehow change something that we're supposed to be adopting today. How does destroying the past somehow make everything right today? I mean, you can't. I mean, it's past. I mean, it's gone. It's past. It's part of history. It's gone. It's past. You can't change it.
No, I mean, look. The fact of the matter is that there was a Confederacy. There was a war. We should teach about it. We should teach the facts about it. It wasn't all about slavery. I mean, that's. I don't think. Well, I don't know. But if people still just think that's all it was about, there were banking implications. There was a lot going on at that time, and I agree with that. I definitely agree with that. Where my stickiness comes in is just. I wished. For the sake of this conversation, that they had attempted to cross that river and that they had attempted to take America back and not just form their own country and leave the North the way it was. You know, the state has the rights and they have the duty to keep the federal government in line. I just would like to see, if we're going to talk states' rights, why didn't they cross the river, Chris?
You know, I just finished reading John Kennedy's Profiles in Courage, and one of the great things that he talked about in his book was how many of the earlier senators, congressmen, governors, lawyers, just various people who were speaking about this time, many of them actually went against the South and actually went against the North, not because they were trying to be angry against the other side or one of the other side. What they were always talking about, if you've ever read the book and if you ever read the speeches of Benton and Houston, there's so many others in there in the book, what you realize is that they were talking about the Union, keeping the Union together, keeping the country together. They weren't even talking about the slavery issue. yes, that might have been something that was going on at the time. What their main concern was, A, avoid war, B, keep the Union together. And you and I can argue all day long about the slavery issue. You've got to understand that these people were arguing, again, I just said it, A, war, or B, keeping the Union together. And these were far more important fundamental beliefs of these people to keep this country together at all costs, even if it meant, okay, let's erase all that. Let's say if slavery did exist. Their concept was avoid the war, keep the Union together. Why did they say that? That the slavery issue was already on its way out. It was already going so far. It was already on its way out. You're right about this. You said states' rights. You are absolutely correct. This was also part of their argument, that they were arguing about states' rights. They were trying to, it's like the federal government doesn't have the right to come into our states and tell us what to do. Now, the leftists can argue with us all day long about, well, it's federal law. This is what they said. We have to free the slaves. Okay, we can argue that argument for another day. You've got to understand that it was important for states' rights. The Civil War was fought on the premise of states' rights. You even said that yourself. And here we are today, 150, 175 years, 200 years later. Look at what our federal government is doing. Everything is about the omnipresent power of the federal government.
You know, Chris, I mean, I definitely agree with you. The states have to have rights. The states are kind of like the people, right? And the people have to have the utmost power. The Constitution certainly gives the states all the power except what they don't have. And that's all clearly listed out. I know you, you know me. We've both read up pretty well on all that stuff. So we come down to interpretation and things of that nature. But, I mean, first of all, I don't think that you can dismiss the slavery issue as much as you can say that there's definitely other things that went into it. And some of those states' rights issues really get down to banking, and banking, which has become such a rough situation in the world today, and it really has. Look at what's going on in Greece and things like that. There's more pretend money than there is real money, and that's the problem.
On that. You are absolutely correct on that.
So I do think that there obviously was a slavery component to it, but it was in the context, I understand, I mean, let's look at it. When the founders wrote the Constitution and they said all men were created equal, they didn't mean the black man. I get that, and they didn't, because in many cases they didn't even see them as men. And that's ugly, and it's not good. But I will say it's the past. I didn't have anything to do with it. I certainly don't want to pay for it today. There's nothing I can do to go back and change it. But the whole fact of the matter is that if we were to see an uprising today and we saw 250,000 people from every state go to Washington armed and say this isn't what it's supposed to be and you need to change it, would be completely different than what happened in the Civil War, only because, and what really gets me about them was some of the laws that they passed right when they made the Confederate States of America, one of the first being a gun control law. I don't think anyone has a monopoly on what was right. This is why I think that it's a piece of our history, Chris. It absolutely is. We cannot deny it, and you're 100% right. And a lot of times meanings change over time. And to be honest with you, I think that the meaning has changed for the better over time. I mean, I grew up watching the Dukes of Hazzard. It never made me not like black people. You know what I mean? It's, I get it. I can look at it with an open mind. I just would like to see the governments within the country, the state governments, and especially the federal government, I'd like to see us unified, not divided. And I think that it's a symbol of division. The North is the North, the South is the South. We're all Americans, and it's 2015. It's not 18, whatever the heck it is. So,
Absolutely. Here's the other thing that's going on.
Go ahead.
Again, my blog site is electionsandgreen.blogspot.com. And one of the, and you've seen it on your Freedom Network, I posted it in there, the pieces that I've posted about agenda-driven policy.
Sure.
I completely agree with everything that you have just deduced to me. And one of the great things that you and I might have differences of opinions, and you and I might disagree on certain points of fact, but the two of us can come together on certain realities that are out there. One of the things I think we can come together on is that these policies that are being put out there today are agenda-driven policies. And they're agenda-driven policies to purport and to promote and to force upon us tolerance and understanding, while at the same time employing systems, dogmas, doctrination of intolerance. That this is not allowed. You're not allowed to say this. You can't fly that flag. Take that flag down. You're not supposed to say this. Dig up the graves of General Lee. Take all this stuff down. How tolerant is that?
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I think the agenda is very clear, and it's that this is why I've had a lot of conversations with my callers and emails about it, and they think that my perspective is at least refreshing, even when they don't agree with it, because I don't buy it on the politically correct stuff, and I would fully support anybody. You got a truck, you want to put a Confederate flag on the back of it and fly it. It's your right. You're an American. You get the right to do whatever you want.
But here's where the coin flips, sir. Is that now you see people tearing the flag down. They're attacking people. There are certain ethnic groups, I'm not going to say it on your show, there are certain ethnicities tearing down the flag, violently attacking people, going up to people's private property, and hello, you want to talk about crime, first of all, trespassing to destruction of private property, the third, theft, destruction of that private property. I mean, there's multiple crimes. No one's saying anything about that.
No, I mean, let's face it. Yeah.
Flying that flag, the paradigm, the mantra, the agenda-driven policy is that person flying that flag is the racist, not the person destroying that property, not the person attacking the other person flying that flag, not the person who's ganging up upon. That's not the discussion here.
No, I mean, well, Chris, that's the media for you, man. I mean, yeah,
agenda-driven policy.
It absolutely is. I mean, that's what the media does. They have an agenda. That's what Al Sharpton does. He has an agenda. He's not going to ever talk about different kinds of crime. He's very focused. He's good at what he does, and so is our president. And they incite this racial tension that, to be honest with you, look, I have a lot of friends on Facebook that I see, and they put the Confederate flag up there. And I always ask them, if it was this important to you, where was it, 12 months ago? Now, I understand that because it's coming to light, people want to show that support for rebellion, and I get it. See, I'm into that. I get it. I just don't know that that's the best vehicle. But Chris, I do have some emails coming I want to get to, but one of them pertain to you.
Go right ahead, man.
One of them pertain to you, though.
You know what, buddy? I want to see you on the 22nd of September at Harvard University. We got Charles Murray showing up. You came to our other Tea Party meeting. You're more than welcome on my show. You're more than welcome to our Tea Party meetings. And please, bring your show, bring your cameras, your microphones, whatever you got. Bring it to September 22nd at Harvard University, the Science Center there, and we can all see Charles Murray. And I'll see you on the road, my friend.
Yeah, I'll check it out. And I want to let you know before you go, Selma has emailed me. She says that she loves meat and potatoes, and she loves the Freedom Network. And she told us to play nice. That's something, Selma, that we always do. He's a great guy. We have far more in common than on the other side.
Great show. I just wanted to call in, buddy.
All right, bud. I appreciate you being there.
All right, later, Tater.
Thanks, man. Great guy. Was at a function with him. I follow him around. You guys know me. I don't agree with anybody 100% on anything, but that's okay. I got to look in the mirror for that, I guess. But at the same time, definitely something you want to check out. You can get to him. If you get to my page, you'll be able to find his. Get to my group, you can find his group. He's posting in there all the time. You'll be able to click on it and get something going. Anyway, on the sex offender thing, just to close that out, that's what it is. They're sexual crimes, folks. That's what they are. I'm all about people's rights. But I'm going to tell you something. When you're doing things like raping people and abusing children and things of that nature, your rights have to take a back seat to the rights of those people. And when you are continually seeing people commit crimes, I can't stand the fact that we don't have any protection. We can't call the police if a sex offender is sitting in the park just watching all the kids. We can't do that. They can't remove them. So it's got to be part of the probation, and probation ends. It's got to be part of some stipulation of release. It's just some tough stuff. So Matthew DeRose and Patrick Langen, he's a PhD. Erica Schmidt, November 2003. For the first time, data on the rearrest, reconviction, and reimprisonment. They followed 96, call it close to 10,000 male sex offenders. 4,000 plus were child molesters. So you're looking at close to half of sex offenders, statistically, doesn't mean they are in your town, but half of them are child molesters. They were tracked for 3 years after their release from prison in 15 states. Okay, they were released in 1994. This came out in 2003. 2/3 of them released from prisons in the United States. Let's see. Study represents the largest follow-up ever conducted. I'm going to try to move fast here because I got to get to some immigration stuff for a friend of mine. But let me give you some highlights. Within 3 years following their release, over 5% of sex offenders, men who had committed rape or sexual assault, were rearrested for an additional sex crime after they were released. On average, the 90 or 700 sex offenders served 3.5 years of their 8-year sentence. Well, that's a problem. Compared to non-sex offenders released from the state prisons, released sex offenders were 4 times more likely to be rearrested for a sex crime. 4 times more likely. The released sex offenders included 4,300 men who were in prison for child molesting. Now, I've read many numbers on this. They flow from 8 to 15%, depends on who you want to listen to, that are caught again for a sexual crime. Again. And maybe they were caught somewhere where there was no law to get them out of there. Most often, when they do, I have found it's also violent when they reoffend. And that's like a stupid thing anyway to have in there, right? Because is it not violent to sexually abuse somebody? But it's even more violent. For some reason, that's just how it goes. The violence increases. If you think about just this town where we live, right here in Northbridge, I think we have 9, and I could be wrong, but I think we have 9 sexual offenders registered. And a few of them, I believe, are at level 3, or at least 2 and 3. And that could mean at least one of them, if you go by the numbers, is probably going to reoffend. Where do you think they're going to do it? They're going to do it where they can go. That's where they're going to do it. Now, again, I'm not for taking people's rights. Please, you know me. But when you commit a crime of a sexual nature against someone else, you have to take a back seat to the rights of the other citizens that live there. This is my opinion, and I certainly do welcome yours. I also welcome you to come down to the station, say hello after the show, sign our petition. We'll do it right out in the parking lot right before sunset. This petition does not pass any laws. Please understand that. It just lets the people vote on a measure to implement a bylaw that would address this. Let's let the people speak on this. You can find examples of what we want to do if you just Google sex offender law in Shirley, Mass. They have a pretty comprehensive law. It's a great example of what we want to submit to the town as an example of what we're looking to do and to write into a law. I don't write laws, unfortunately. Wow, this thing just got real bright. Did I just light up or something? I don't write laws. I don't do it. But in any event, I'll give you a little info. You can get a Commonwealth of Massachusetts town in Northbridge petition for a warrant article. I took one out. I want to see if the town will vote to implement sexual offender bylaws to better protect our children and the elderly, to give law enforcement the ability and the duty to act when known sexual offenders listed at levels 2 and 3 or 2 and above are in areas where the most vulnerable gather. For specific law detail, please see attached examples of bylaws that were approved at state level, because they must be approved. I've included, or I've had included, thank you to Elizabeth, she got me a fair amount of this information. Thank you very much. Shirley, Hopkinton, let's see, Templeton's in here. They're all very similar. Air Mass is in here. Mansfield is in here. Let's look at Shirley. It's on the top one. Just a real quick rundown. It is the intent of this bylaw to serve and protect the town's compelling interest to promote, protect, and improve the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens of the town by creating areas around locations where children or the elderly regularly gather or congregate in concentrated numbers, wherein certain registered sex offenders are prohibited from loitering and establishing temporary or permanent residence. After careful consideration, the town finds this bylaw to be the most narrowly tailored means of limiting to the fullest extent possible the opportunity for registered sex offenders to approach or otherwise come in contact with children, the elderly, in places where they gather and naturally congregate. By the enactment of this or any other bylaw, the town understands that it cannot remove the threat posed to or guarantee the safety of children, the elderly, or to assure the public that registered sex offenders will comply with all mandates of this statute. The legislation is intended to create a civil, non-punitive regulatory scheme in order to protect children and the elderly at every extent possible under the circumstances, and not as a punitive measure of any kind. Registered sex offenders pose a clear threat to the children and the elderly residing or visiting the community, because registered sex offenders are more likely than any other type of offender to reoffend for another sexual offense. The town desires to impose safety precautions in furtherance of the goal of protecting the children and the elderly. The purpose of this bylaw is to reduce the potential risk of harm to children and to the elderly and the community by impacting the ability of registered sex offenders to be in contact with unsuspecting children and the elderly in locations that are primarily designed for use or are primarily used by children or the elderly. The grounds of a public or private school for children, the center or facility that provides daycare or children's services, a park, other public recreational facility. In our town, you might say that skateboarding area, elderly housing facilities, or the senior citizen center. The town desires to add local restrictions to such offenders to the extent that the law is silent. And the law is silent. So, definitions. Go on. This thing goes on. It's not very long. I know it looks thick to you, but there's a whole bunch of them here. Ready? Here. Look at it. That's it. It's only a few pages long. That's all it is. Okay? And what this does is it's going to give the ability of our fantastic police department, which we have a fantastic police department here in town, to be able to tell these people, take a hike. At the end of the day, that's what we need them to do. That's what we want them to have the authority to do, and I want them also to have the duty to do it, because I don't want to see it. All right, that's on that. Excuse me. Fast and Furious. Let's see here. Hey, Gary, I know that meat and potatoes guy. Yes, he is a good guy, isn't he? It's amazing. We have a lot of the same people. This guy's from out of state. He doesn't say where. He just says, I'm from out of state. I found you both on Facebook, and I think you're both great. You should go on his show sometime. I should. I was on one program with him for quite some time. He's on late at night, I believe. I get tired. I do. I get tired. I'm up early. What are you going to do? All right. Meet me outside in just a few minutes. All right? That's what I want you to do. I'll wait till the show ends and give 10 minutes or so for people to come down if you can. If you can. If you can't, the other thing you can do, and I've got about 3 emails already from people, email me and I can pick another day, time where I can meet a few people if we don't get enough on there. I saw one of my younger viewers the other day at a scouting camp event. He asked that I talk about immigration, or illegal immigration in particular. I love that we have young people that watch the Freedom Network. I really do. And they're taking an interest in government and how it's supposed to work. That's what they're doing. So I think that's cool. In a nutshell, you know my opinion. All right? And I know you know my opinion. If you don't, I'll restate it for you. Our borders should mean something, and we should not have open borders in America. We should ensure that our borders are secure at all times. We spend so much on things that are foolish. I'm certain that we could find the money to secure our border. And you know what? If you got to do it with force, then I think you got to do it with force. I do. If you're in this country illegally, you shouldn't be here. Now, I understand that I'm going to get tons of emails, so just stop the clicking. I know you're going to get tons of emails. saying that we are illegal in this land as well. Well, there's a few things on that. First, there were people here before us. It's true. They weren't organized. They were certainly not all peaceable. That, my friends, is a myth. Okay, you can learn if you want to the truth about what happened on these American lands, on many of them. Now, that doesn't mean there weren't peaceable tribes out there, but they were not all peaceable. They fought wars with each other. And you know what they fought over? Land. That's what they fought over. They stole land from each other, or they took land from each other, or they won it in a war from each other. However you wanted to make it. It's the fact. Look, mankind has always fought over land. It does so today, and it did so thousands of years ago. Somebody was coming to this land. It wasn't going to stay as tribal lands forever. It just wasn't. Someone was going to come here, and with the unorganization that was here, they were going to take it. They were. It's just a fact. It's what's going to happen. But, folks, we've got to live in today, not in the past. Do I think the American Indian should be, or do I have to say Native Americans now? Is that what I have to say? Is it a law? I don't know. I can't get into the political correctness. But I do think that the American Indian should be better taken care of. I do. I absolutely do. Our government is good at giving us some freedom at the expense of others. I get it. Trust me, I get it. Am I getting close? 30 seconds. Oh, man. I'll pick up some illegal immigration, my young friend, when we get back. I'll see, hopefully, you out in the parking lot in a short time. My name is Gary Rosenberg. This is the Freedom Network. I had a great thing to play for you. I'm going to play it for you in 3 weeks. I got an email to me from a frequent emailer. It's all about loving America, and it's awesome, and it's my bad that I didn't get it in there, and I have to apologize for that. I hope to see you soon. I'll be off next week. I'll be in the Caribbean the week after. I'll come back, maybe a little red, but I'll be on the show right here, the Freedom Network. I'm Gary Rosenberg signing off. Please join us again next time.